Welcome to the AutoParent podcast with my mom.
Hello, and welcome to the AutoParent podcast, episode 40, which just might be the best one yet. And I know I say that every week, so whatever, but I actually mean it this time. I'm your host, Pastor Casey, and y'all know me. So let's just go ahead and get to this fabulous special guest that we have for this episode. Our special guest is Meghan Linsey. Meghan began her career as one half of the Billboard chart-topping country duo Steel Magnolia. The duo was nominated for major music awards, including ACMs, CMAs, and Teen Choice Awards. In 2015, Meghan became runner-up of NBC's The Voice. During her time on the show, she landed at number one on 2 Billboard charts and had multiple number ones across all genres of the iTunes charts. And I just want to plug in here, one of those is a cover of Tennessee Whiskey, which is phenomenal and so great. Since her success on The Voice, Meghan has toured throughout the U.S. and abroad. She's collaborated with Grammy winners and hit artists like Chingy. Yes, I said Chingy and Aloe Blacc. Throughout her career, Meghan has also been a very outspoken voice for change within the country music industry. She is a champion for the Black Lives Matter movement, women's rights, and a very dedicated ally to the LGBTQ community, which is one of the reasons why I desperately wanted Meghan to be on the podcast with us today. So welcome. It is so good to see you and to be with you today.
It's so good to see you and be with you. This is awesome.
Yeah. So we're just going to hop right into some special guest questions. I think the best way that you can get to know somebody is to just like complain together. So that's where we're going to start. I want to know what your biggest pet peeve is.
Oh, man. I think lately, probably just like internet trolls, like bullying on the internet trolls. I mean, I know that's not like a fun pet peeve, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like I get so much hate in my comments, and it's just so like, I don't know. That seems to be a thing on the internet these days. So like every article I read, or like, it's just like constant, like just negativity in the comments. So I'm kind of just over that.
Yeah, definitely. It's so interesting, right? Because like there was already this internet culture that kind of was different from at least how I grew up, right? Like we had AOL and dial-up and MSN Messenger and that kind of stuff. But like
ICP, I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah. Yes. So the whole social media thing, like, is its own space, but I have been worried about people lately, honestly. Like, I think the pandemic is really doing all kinds of damage in so many ways. And like, I'm worried about people driving. Like, I've seen so many car accidents recently. I'm just like, are you okay? Like, are people okay? I don't feel like they are.
I don't know, man. I don't think so either.
It's a lot. Okay. So I actually just wanted to share a quick pet peeve as well. And this is so funny because I always say like, I don't participate in these questions because they're the special guest questions, but then I always do anyway. So I'm just full of shit. But anyway, my pet peeve, I was thinking about this past week, and I have 2 kids. One is 6 and one is 3, and they are both boys, and insistent at this moment that they are boys. And they are very like rough and tumble, like fight, argue, the whole 9 yards. But one thing that they've been recently doing is like watching trick shots on YouTube, which some of them are like really interesting to watch, these like trick shots and like bottle flips. And anyway, so what they do is like they take these water bottles and they fill them up kind of like halfway, and then they do like these bottle flips to like try to land it on this, like to flip it in a circle and like land it on the surface. But the thing that like gets on my everlasting nerves is this sound of the bottle hitting the ground, because it's like every 5 seconds. It's like boom, 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 like every 5 seconds. And it is so frustrating. And the other day I was like, I'm going to go in the closet and scream. Like, that's what I'm going to do. So I have done everything in my power to make sure that it helped me, I'll say. But I've done everything in my power to like get rid of every water bottle in our in our apartment. Just, I can't do it anymore. So there's that.
So I feel like that is a real pet peeve. I think what if I'm like, we're doing like nitpicky things, I think my pet peeve would be the sound of people chewing. I'm not a big fan of that.
Ugh.
And like some people are, like some
Same.
people get into like AMSR or whatever, like those videos where they listen to like all that stuff real intensely. And I'm like, I don't know, I just can't do it.
Yeah, I definitely can't handle the chewing thing. And I actually heard on Dax Shepard's podcast that like there's a genetic marker for that.
Oh.
Like if you have like that, it's called like misophonia, and you can actually like tell based on your genetics whether or not you have that genetic marker. I'm like, I definitely have that because it makes me so angry. Okay, so this is a hard question, so I just like acknowledge that up top, but I think it's a really fun one. And so I just want to know if you can think of a recent time that you have laughed really hard, or perhaps like the hardest time that you've ever laughed.
Man, I think for me, it's always, my best friend, Julie, she travels with me a lot, and we just have so much fun. Like we laugh all the time. I laugh the hardest with her, and it's just silly stuff, man. It's like, we'll just be like, you know, back when I was on a tour bus, we'd be like in the middle of the night, like going into Walmart in our pajamas and like, just fun things like midnight Walmart runs and stuff. But I mean, there was a time I remember when we were down in Texas, close to the Mexican border, and we got pulled over by Border Patrol at like 2 a.m. They came on our bus, which is like really scary if you're sleeping. And they like shine a flashlight in your face, and they're like, "Are you an American citizen?" It's crazy. So that happened to us. And my friend Julie and I were in the back of my bus, and it was a bedroom in the back of the bus, and her and I are just like, you know, sleeping and back there together. And they came in and they like shine the flashlight in our eyes, and they're like, "Are you American citizen?" I was like, "Yes." And then they like woke Julie up, and she popped out of bed and she goes, "I'm from Wisconsin." I don't know why, but like we were just talking about that the other day, and I was just dying. I'm like, she cracks me up. She's just so like, I don't know, Midwest and funny. She's got such an accent, and she thinks she doesn't. And yeah, I don't know. We just laugh a lot.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It actually makes me think of this West Wing episode, which like apparently this is just a West Wing podcast now, but it's like all I talked about on last week's episode. Anyway, there's an episode where Donna, who is also from Wisconsin, like finds out that her like her town or whatever has now been kind of like sucked into Canada, and so she like can't actually vote, and she can't be a part of the political process because it's so close that it's now Canada. So that's super funny. Oh my gosh!
I always tell her I tell everyone she's Canadian, so she's so far up there.
Right.
She lives in a town called Crivets, Wisconsin. So
wow,
middle of nowhere.
I've never heard of that. Yeah,
no one has.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. So I have some greatest lesson questions that I thought we could think through. I want to know if you can identify what's the greatest lesson that you've learned just about life.
Oh man. You know, I've been through, I feel like a lot in the last few years, especially. I mean, I don't know, like in 2017, I was bit on the face by a brown recluse spider, and it was awful. And I had a hole in my face, and it was this whole thing. And it took like a long time to recover from that. And I think I learned actually a lot through that process. You know, I do yoga, and I'm all into like all the, you know, holistic stuff and meditation. And that's always kind of been my vibe for like, I guess like the last 15 years. But, when that happened to me, I really had to put all of those things into practice kind of in real time. Cause it was just like you know, you just have to wait. You don't know what's going to happen. Like every day there was a new symptom, and I was stuck on, I had to cancel shows. I was stuck on my couch, and I was like in a lot of pain. It was really painful because it was right here below my eye. So I had like a lot of nerve pain and stuff. But yeah, I think for me, it was just like learning to just surrender and live kind of really truly live in the moment. And so I just kind of had to do that, and I had to go through it, and I just had to kind of trust that everything was going to be okay. So I don't know. I think that was probably one of my biggest life lessons.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I wondered if you were going to talk about this, because I remember I was following you on social media during this time when this brown recluse bite happened. And also I was living in a house in Nashville that like was overrun with brown recluse spiders. So I was like terrified.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this happened in Nashville as well, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just kept thinking to myself, like, it is amazing to me, like how brave you are, how you're staying so grounded, like all of these things, like as you were going through this painstaking process of recovery from this spider bite. So yeah, I mean, I think that the way you walked through that was beautiful and inspirational, at least from over here. So
thank you. Yeah, it's funny because I think you think of when you think about things like that, like if you were to tell me like, oh, there's like a possibility that could happen to you, you would be like, oh God, like that's terrifying. And then when it actually does happen to you, you're just like, okay, well, this is what we're doing today. You have no control over it. So you just kind of go with the flow. It's like, I mean, and it's been like that with so many things in my life, especially in recent years, you just kind of go with it and take it as it comes, and, just know that everything's going to be cool. It's all how you respond,
That is such a helpful tool to have as a parent too, because literally things are crazy all the time. Kids get hurt, school gets canceled, pandemics happen, your child develops a food allergy. My kid has a peanut allergy. And that attitude, exactly what you said. Well, I guess this is what we're doing today. Like that is just kind of the whole thing. Yeah. That's the way to keep going. Because otherwise it can just feel way too overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't think about too much at once, and you can't really think about the future of everything too much at once,
Yeah. All right. So I have another greatest lesson question. I want to know, what's the greatest lesson that you've learned about the music industry?
Oh, man. I've learned so many lessons about the music industry. I think for me, the biggest thing probably has been just like identifying like who the people are that are truly in your corner. There's so many, like, I've had so many circumstances where I've ended up in like management deals that were not good, or just people that, aren't good people. And so at the end of the day, it's like the people that have been with me, in this entire ride, like even before I had anything going on, are the people that are still with me and they're still in my corner, like my friend Julie. It's like you can really only truly trust, I feel like, a handful of people in this business. And I've kind of just learned to like who I can trust, and I try to not be so guarded that like I miss opportunities, but I do try to just trust like my gut. And I think another big thing I think is just being kind. I feel like everything that happens in this business for you is through relationship. It's all like people that that like bring opportunities to you, and so I think it's just important to be kind and to just identify who your core people are, and to just, stay true to that, because, it can be brutal for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Trust is so, so very important. And I like what you said about trusting your own gut, right? Do you know what number you are on the Enneagram?
I'm an 8.
Are you? So interesting. But 8 is the gut triad, right?
I think so. I did it I literally did this like 2 days ago, because I never did know what I was. And I thought I was an 8. Like, I think I did it a long time ago, and I told someone I was an 8, and they were like, you're not an 8. And I was like, well, let me do it again and just see. So I did like 2 different ones, and they were both an 8. Like I was either an 8 or a 2, I think was the other one that came up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm an 8. I don't know. I don't know what it means.
That's cool. We had We actually had on the podcast a few weeks ago, Enneagram Ashton, who has a very large following on Instagram and does Enneagram coaching and all of that. So I was just curious. I'm a 1 and also in that gut triad. So I felt like we might have that in common. It just, sometimes there's something that happens within me that I know I need to trust it without a lot of verbiage or explanation for it. It just is something,
Yeah. And I definitely have that.
So
for sure. Even though I want to trust people. That's like, it's a problem. Like I want to trust people. Like I do see the good in all people. Like I'm like, oh, well, I always want to help people and I try to rescue. I've learned like as I've gotten older, like, okay, I can't rescue everyone. Like I can't, but I do what I can and I'm learning, it's like we're all growing. Right. But yeah, I do try to trust my gut and not, put myself in a situation where it's like I'm too trusting or I don't like, I'm almost loyal to a fault at times, and so I kind of have to like untrain myself in those areas,
Same. Me too. Okay. So I want to know, what's the greatest lesson that you've learned about the universe? Like just the universe as a whole. What's the greatest lesson you've learned about how it works or how you engage with it?
Man, I mean, honestly, I think you get what you give is a good one. It's just kind of, I try to like just put good out there. And I do. And honestly, I think that everything is what you make it. It's kind of your reaction to whatever's happening is going to be your reality. And I'm really into like the law of attraction and just like, I write down my affirmations every day and I honestly just try to like put good into the world, love people, and, the rest kind of takes care of itself, I think.
Yeah. Well said. I think we can all learn something from that. All right. Finally, what's the greatest lesson that you've learned about love, Meghan?
Oh gosh, I've learned a lot, especially in the last 10 years. So I've been with my fiance for 9.5 years. Before that,
wow.
I know we're going to get married eventually. We're actually going to get married last year, but pandemic and all.
Yes.
We're practically married at this point. We have, the studio, the house, the dogs, like the whole thing. But, I think truly like just having come out of kind of in a more, I guess I could call it an abusive relationship before this. It was kind of a long-term thing. And then, having met Tyler, he's like a complete 180 from that previous relationship. And I think just like learning that, like, you don't have to like be with someone to complete you, it's like, I always thought like, oh, I need this person. Like it's like this desperation thing and that's love. And I don't think that's love, man. I just think that that's like codependency. And with Tyler, it's like he does music and he's a producer and a writer as well. And like he has his projects and I have my projects and like he encourages me and I encourage him. And it's like we make each other, we encourage each other to be our best selves. And I think that's like so important in a relationship. And honestly, we get along so great and we have our moments, but we don't like, it's just not, it doesn't have to be so hard. Before it was just like this all the time with my ex. And it's like, I feel like in this relationship, it's just so easy and chill. And like, we just have a good time and we encourage each other. And I think that that's, I didn't know that I could have that. I thought that like, I honestly didn't feel like deserving of that, I think, for a really long time. And so I just feel like I don't know. I feel like I've just really found my person and it's like, was not what I thought it was going to be. And it's so much better. So.
Yeah. I can totally relate to not realizing things could be this good. And also feeling unworthy or undeserving of beautiful and whole love and relationship. My partner and I always say that we feel like we're two plants planted in, and we choose to be planted in the same pot.
Right.
And sometimes the pot just has to get like bigger to accommodate all that we are all the time. But that we're each kind of doing our own thing, but we're growing together and apart. And just kind of beautiful when you can have have a relationship that isn't like founded on this idea of codependency, which is like hard. It's hard.
It's hard. And that's honestly, I feel like so many people's relationships. So you just think that that's what it is, you know? And so I don't know. Right. I just feel like, and I wasn't looking for anything, you know, I had just gotten out of a relationship and I was just kind of like doing my own thing. And I think that's important because, you know, it's like you do have to like learn who you are and do your own thing, you know, and then, you know, your person will come, you know. So I wasn't like looking for someone to complete me. It just like kind of just happened, you know, and it's great. So.
Awesome. This has been a segment called Greatest Lessons. And I would be so interested if some of you have some answers to these questions. Greatest lesson you've learned about life, greatest lesson you've learned about the universe, greatest lesson you've learned about love. You can share those with us via voice memo. You can totally send us a voice memo. We'll pop you on the podcast, or you can type them out to us on Instagram and Twitter at AutoParent. And now it's time to do a little something different. Well, now it's time for our Get Real segment, and I am so excited. We're going to continue to get to know more about Meghan and ask some more questions about inspiration, about art, and all of that. And so I want to know just first off, because I truthfully sort of having followed your journey, have felt so inspired by you. I felt like you're kind of like that we would get each other, that we would understand each other, and your journey just through music, even from Still Magnolia and moving forward, has just been super inspirational to me. So I am curious, like, what inspires you?
Oh man, I think that's a good question. I've just always been inspired by like obviously like strong women, especially within the music industry, like women who run their own businesses, who you know, call their own shots. I did a tour. One of my tours I did was with Reba, and I was opening for her. And I was in the midst of like going through just a really hard time in my life. My ex went to rehab, and then I ended up doing the tour on my own, and having to, you know, go through that with the breakup and him being in rehab and me doing the tour, and like everything kind of, my whole world kind of got flipped upside down overnight. And so I ended up on the road with her, and it was totally just God, the universe, like putting us together at the same time, especially when I was going through that, because it really was so inspiring watching her, you know, put her show together, and just the way she treats people. She's so kind. Like she knows everybody's first name, and she like is really genuine, you know? And so she kind of really helped me through, even whether she knows it or not, she really helped me through a hard time in my life. And, you know, she would call me into her dressing room and she would like give me pep talks, and she was just the coolest human on the planet. And so I think like just women like Reba, and just strong women that are just with big, amazing hearts. You know, I think that is the thing that inspires me probably the most. You know, my mom is that way as well. It's just, you know, it's kind of, I've learned like so much from my mother, honestly. But yeah.
That's so funny, because it's exactly what I was going to ask you is if your mom might be one of those people. What is something that you learned specifically from your mom?
Well, my mom grew up, you know, in Kentucky, like with 8 brothers and sisters, and like, you know, a 2-bedroom house. And so she kind of came from like very humble beginnings. Her dad was a logger, you know, really came from nothing. And as you know, and she really just had to work really hard. You know, she had like several jobs to work herself through college. She ended up becoming an RN. She's a nurse. And, you know, she had my sisters when she was very young. I think she was like 19 or 18 when she had my two sisters, or my half sisters. And so she had my sisters, and got divorced from her first husband and moved to New Orleans by herself with her kids. And then met my dad, and started a whole new life. And so she's like really, I think, a true picture of like resilience, and just continuing to move forward and to continuing to better herself. And so I've definitely learned so much from her. She's one of the strongest people I know, and last year with the pandemic, I mean, she's been through like 2 bouts of cancer now. And so I was taking her to all of her radiation appointments last year, and she never gives up. She's a fighter. And so I've learned, I get so much of that from her. I think just I'm really lucky to have had her, her as my mom.
I was going to say, like, it sounds like a little bit of that, this is what we're doing now, sort of attitude that you have, which is cool. That's so
For
great.
sure.
So I want to know, what is something that you're excited about right now?
I'm excited about so many things right now, because I feel like, we've been in this lockdown for so long, and we didn't have any shows, and everything was canceled, and I'm starting to book some things now. So that's exciting. I'm really excited to play live music. I've been working on a record that I'm really excited about, that I'm almost finished with. So really just music, I think, is the thing I'm most excited about now. Is just getting back in the saddle and just being able to tour and being able to kind of show people what I've been working on through this entire lockdown.
Yeah, that's making me excited. I wonder, like, sort of in that same realm, like, I wonder if there's anything like on the other side of the coin that might make you feel fearful. Not even about music or whatever, but is there anything right now that is producing fear in you?
I mean, I think that fear, there's always like fear of the unknown, like I'm always like, I don't know. I think that there's always, I'm trying to think of like the thing that like, I definitely I've been very like high anxiety recently, and I'm not even totally sure why. I'm sure it has a lot to do with just like everything going on in the world right now. My family just went through that hurricane in Louisiana. That's where I'm from. And so there's been a lot of anxiety, I think, welling up in me over like a lot of different things going on with my family, and I try not to live in fear. But I do feel like we were talking about earlier, like with the spider bite thing, it's like there's so much build up in fear over things that you don't know or understand. And then I feel like once you go through them, it's like, oh, well, I'm okay. Like, this is what we're doing now.
Right.
Try to like just live in the moment and take things day by day, and I try not to worry too much, I don't know if any of that made sense, but
no, it does. It makes all kinds of sense, and actually is like it's just a super helpful thing, and it's just permeating off of you, like this idea of like living in the moment, and it's just a beautiful reminder that like so much good can happen for us, particularly in how we deal with stress and anxiety, if we choose to sort of live in the moment. And speaking of stress and anxiety, and you mentioned that you're having some anxiety, can you like just tell me how you cope with it? What are some coping mechanisms that you have?
Well, I'll tell you how I should deal with it, and then I'll tell you how I have been.
Great.
No, I have been, I'm very like practiced in yoga. So I try to do, but I haven't been doing that. If I'm being completely honest, I haven't even been to a yoga class. So I should probably do that. But I have been going on walks a lot, which I think helps me. I need to like if I just need to get up and move, like that, just to get out of the house and to like be out in nature, I think is really important for me. I find a lot of solace just being outside. And then I know this is probably not the answer you're looking for, but for me, it's like sometimes I just need to go to Target. And and it really helps. I don't know.
This is so amazing. This is so amazing. When we get done, I'm going to send you a TikTok that I sent to my friend this morning that was Target related. And so like I am with you 1000%. Like that dollar spot and just like, give me a good candle and like, yes, some goodness from Target.
Yeah. It's just like, you can get like, it's just, it's therapeutic. I feel like a Target could save all of us, really, you know. Anything you're going through, go to Target.
I completely agree. That's our lesson here. If you don't remember anything else from this podcast, the lesson here is that if you're dealing with stress and anxiety, please just hit up that Target. Oh my gosh. I love it. Okay. So I want to ask a little bit about, because this is a parenting podcast. And so I want to talk a little bit about like, what do you feel like is important for parents to hold for their children who are already or are on a trajectory to becoming artists, whether it's musicians or any other form of art? Like, what do you think it's important for parents to hold and to be aware of if their kids are on an artistic path?
Well, I'll say this, obviously I don't have kids, but I was a kid.
Yes.
And I am an artist. So I think for me with my mom, I was always very encouraged, you know, in that direction, because that's what I wanted. Like I started singing like at such a young age. Like as soon as I could talk, I was singing. So I always kind of knew what I wanted to do. I never really like questioned it. And my mom was always my mom and dad both were always very encouraging of that. But not to the point where it was like pushed, I guess, you know, they just kind of like stood behind me like, okay, what is this, what you want to do? Then like, let's do this, you know, which I think is important, you know, because I do see like a lot of instances where there's like kind of, you know, the stage moms, and it almost feels like a little too pushed. And then also just, you know, and then you also see parents that just kind of are like, oh, well, you know, you need to like have a backup plan. And that's good. I mean, my parents were kind of like that too. They're like, if you're going to go to Nashville, can you at least like go to college, you know? And so, I went for a semester. My mom was thrilled. But you know, I got to Nashville but she helped me get to Nashville. She helped me get here. And she was like, yeah, just go explore, figure it out, meet people, you know, those things are important. And so I don't know. I just always felt, I very much felt encouraged, and I very much never felt like, you know, I shouldn't be pursuing it, or like I wasn't, you know, it wasn't a realistic goal.
Yeah. I love that. Sort of, it feels very real, and it feels very loving. And I think that's, I mean, I always just try to impart on parents, and myself, like honesty, realness, and just a hell of a lot of love, because the love kind of can cover, you know, all kinds of missteps. So it sounds like, it sounds like that is exactly what you got. And that's a gift for sure. I wonder, so we talked about, what you might feel like is important for the parents to hold. What do you feel like is important for, somebody who is a child, maybe a teenager who is feeling, drawn into art, whether it's music or anything else? What would you say to that young person?
Well, I think for me, and I learned this a little bit later. I think I always like, obviously I've always had a heart for people, and I've always like just wanted to do good in the world. But I do feel like there's this part of music that's very it can feel very much like a vanity project almost at times. You know, if there's not a foundation there for something bigger. And so for me, and that it came later, but it's like, it's been a thing where I'm like, okay, what can I do now that I've built this platform, like what's important to me, and how can I help other people with what I'm doing? Because otherwise it really is just a vanity project. It's like, why am I putting this music out? Is it just because I want people to look at me on Instagram? Or is it that I want to make someone's day better, or align with a cause? And so for me, it's kind of like, especially in the last, since I've been off my record label, probably the last 10 years, like I've just really allowed that to be my focus and kind of lead me in the right direction, like whichever direction I'm going to go. I'm thinking these things. I'm like, okay, how can I use music to do something bigger than myself? So I don't know. That's kind of where I think that's important. I think it's important to kind of know where you stand and, that's what I try to do.
Yeah. Well, and it shows too, like I tend to be drawn to artists who sort of are doing everything that you're saying, authenticity, who are, writing with their heart. And yeah, I'm less sort of impressed with like all of these things that you're mentioning about vanity projects, et cetera. It makes me think of Dermot Kennedy, who's like one of my favorite artists ever, and who sort of is doing this thing. And what's so great about it is that like it is then meaningful, and it does like make an impact on people, and you can totally see that with your work.
I think too. Thank you. I think too, it's just like people can see through it. Like they know when you're not being real, And so like, Tyler and I, over the pandemic into last year, like I wrote this song called The Morning, and I wrote it in the bathtub in the middle of the night. And I woke him up and I was like, hey, I need to record this song. And so he was like, okay, we'll do it tomorrow. And I like had voice recorded on my phone, and we came out in the studio. And I think we recorded it in like a few takes, like just piano vocal. And the whole thing I had written like in an hour, maybe, like just with tears running down my face, because I was just having like a moment in the midst of the pandemic with everything going on in the world. And so we recorded it, and I was just like, let's just put it out. I'm not going to like overthink it. I'm not going to like feel like I need to do a press release and all this other stuff that we would normally do with a release. Sorry, I lost my headphones.
Okay.
But why these don't fit in my ear. But we just put the song out, and it ended up getting picked up for like this massive show on ABC. It was like called Station 19, and it ended up getting like this huge placement, like for a whole minute. It was like this scene in the show. And I just think that like things land where they're supposed to be, and people know when you're being authentic. And I feel like you attract things, whatever you're putting out, you attract. And so I don't know. I feel like that's definitely a lesson in like, sometimes we try so hard, and maybe it doesn't have to be so hard. Maybe you just have to keep it real and just put things out and not worry so much about, trying to please people or fit in a box,
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So yeah, it's so absolutely amazing and wonderful to see that authenticity paying off in that way. And I think you're right. There's this book called Big Magic that was written by Liz Gilbert, where she talks a little bit about how like art is a thing that just exists and then it finds its home.
True.
And I think doing right by that is kind of the work of an artist. You've been so amazing to get to know and been such a dream guest. And I feel so lucky that you said yes to doing this. And yeah, it's been awesome. Awesome.
I'm glad to do it. It's
awesome.
Been fun.
So I want you to talk a little bit about, you mentioned some about the fact that you've been writing a record and that, something maybe coming. But I want to know if you will talk a little bit about what things you have going on, and tell us where people can find you online.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this record. It's definitely like getting back to my roots and definitely kind of bringing more of like a New Orleans feel to the songs. So that's been really fun to make music that kind of sits more in that vein. It's a little more soulful Americana, I guess I would call it. It's kind of what this record is going to be. And so really excited about that. I actually wrote a song with John Legend like 10 years ago. And you were talking about how songs just kind of live in this, live out in space, and then eventually they find their place. And so I was just going through all my songs, and I was like, I actually had forgotten about this song, and we ended up recording it the other week. And I was like, man, this is going to be a really cool album. So I'm really excited about it. Very excited about that. I'm playing a benefit concert on Tuesday in Nashville for the victims we had a big flood here outside of Nashville. I guess it's been a couple weeks ago now, but it was awful. And so I'm doing a benefit concert on Tuesday with bunch of amazing artists. Billy Ray Cyrus is playing, and Dennis Quaid is playing, which is really cool. So it's going to be awesome. I've been helping my friend. Yeah, he does music and he's playing. I actually have met him a couple times. We have the same publicist, but super nice guy. So he's going to be there, and it's been actually really awesome putting that thing together with my friend, and just we're going to hopefully raise a lot of money for these people that just went through this whole thing. So that's Tuesday. And then I've got another show in LA at the end of the month. And so just trying to get back into, just putting music out and recording and doing the whole thing. So.
Awesome. You can follow Meghan on Instagram at Meghan Linsey, Meghan with a GH, and Linsey, Linsey on Instagram. You can also find out more on meghanlinsey.com. And you're going to want to follow her on Instagram. Let me just go ahead and get that out of the way. You just go ahead and do that right now. We'll wait. Okay. Yeah. Again, this has been so awesome. I feel so honored that you did this with us. And I can't wait. Hopefully I get to see you when I'm in Nashville soon.
Yeah, come over. I've got a recording studio. So you have to come check it out. It's really cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right. Well, we will see you next time. Thanks for listening to the AutoParent podcast. We're going to leave you with a parent mantra, something you can say to yourself or to your partner just to know that you're not alone. Your mantra for this week is, this is the thing we're doing now. This is the thing we're doing now. Because friends, if you don't believe that, it's going to be really hard to convince your kids. And remember this, you don't have to be an auto parent to be a good one.